friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jay, and today we're just messing around in the kitchen. I have a few different things that I need to accomplish, and I figured why not bring you along. The first thing that I'm getting started today is I need to go ahead and finish preserving up my pears. I have quite a few left, and they have been sitting in my homesteading room for quite some time now, and they are pretty good and ripe at this point. Some of them are getting a little soft, and if you can feel that it's soft on the outside, it's definitely ripe on the inside because pears ripen from the inside out. So I need to go ahead and take care of these. I'm going to make a couple more batches of salted caramel pear butter. I'm giving them as Christmas gifts this year. But I'm not going to really show you that because I already did it in a previous video. I will put that video down in the description if you're interested in seeing how I preserved up my pears this year. But I wanted to come to you really quickly because I purchased a new kitchen gadget, and for me that's really like anytime I purchase something for the kitchen, it's a big deal because I don't get to do it very often. And I actually got this from Bed Bath & Beyond. It was on sale and I had a coupon that I had been hanging on to, and I purchased the KitchenAid spiralizer, and it also peels, cores, and then, like I said, slices things. I have been wanting this like you would not believe because I have wasted so much time this season peeling, slicing, and then having to figure out efficient ways to cut things to get them off the core, both apples and pears. I've spent a lot of time this year, hours really, doing that. So I have my little apple peeler, but it's the hand crank one, and it doesn't even attach to my counter. I have to hold it down with one hand and crank with the other hand, and it does not core it, it only peels it. Huge pain in the butt. So the fact that I can get through large batches of fruits that need to be peeled or vegetables that need to be peeled and also can remove the cores with this item is so exciting to me, guys. Like, I feel like it's Christmas morning. I actually went and picked this up yesterday, and these are normally $100, $99.99, and then it was on sale for $75, and then with my coupon I ended up getting it for just a little under $60. So I thought that was a steal. I have my KitchenAid mixer right here, and I just wanted to show you how pretty. Look at their packaging. So it opens up right here. Oops. I just think that is so pretty. Like, what great packaging. It's gonna be really easy to store this baby, and I'm really excited to use it. So I'm gonna spend some time right now reading about it. I've gotta clean it, figure out how to use it. I'm gonna go ahead and peel my pears and get them cooking down on the stove for my pear butter that I'm canning today, and then I'll come back to you and we'll talk about what we're actually going to be doing together today. This is just going to be going on in the background while we are preparing the food that we're going to prepare together today. I know it's kind of silly, but I get so nervous before I use like a tool, like a kitchen tool like this for the first time, because I just don't want to screw it up. So the instructions said to cut the ends off. This one is kind of funky looking. So I'm going to cut the ends off here, and then I have the large coring tool in here because for apples and pears it said to use the large one. And then I put the fruit on the little skewer like this, okay? And then I move this, okay? Okay, and then, oh shoot, I already forgot what it said. When beginning to cut, start at the stir speed, then adjust to the recommended speed for your blade listed in the chart, which is 6. The speed it wants me to, that's really scary. Okay, stir and then 6. Maybe I should plug it in. That might help us here. Man, talk about anticlimactic. I was ready too. Okay, all right. Stir and then 6. Okay. Wow, this is so time saving. Okay. That is beautiful, first of all. Okay, and then, oh my gosh! And then, move this back, take that off, and then there's the core. Oh, okay, Merry Christmas to me, because this thing is freaking fabulous. Oh, yes, yes to this. Solid purchase, very pleased, so excited that I do not have to hand peel and chop pears and apples like really ever again. Oh, oh yes, oh yes. Whoever invented this, much thanks. All right, anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and do this like I said, but I just, that was my very first time using it, and a little scary, but I think it's really actually very easy to use, and I'm very, very excited about it. Ah! All right, you guys, we are gonna run outside quick. It is snowing. It's actually the first day that we're getting snow, and we are going to put these in the compost pile, and then I have something fun in the garden to show you, and isn't that interesting? Something fun in the garden, and it's snowing. So let's dump this off. I might give a couple little pieces to the chickie girls. I think I will do that. I'm working on it. Give me a second. Give me a second. Throw the rest of this in compost. I normally tend to hang on to things a little bit longer. It takes me a while to get out to the compost like that, but I need this bowl because we're gonna make some bread today, so I needed to get out here. All right, here's the thing in the garden that I wanted to show you. My Brussels sprouts are ready, and they've been ready, and we are gonna eat them for dinner tonight, so I'm just gonna come out here and pull them off because the chickie girls love to come out here and munch on these leaves, and it's pretty much the only thing left in the garden that they enjoy eating when I free range them. So I'm gonna leave them and just come out and pick off a couple servings worth of Brussels sprouts because we are gonna eat them for dinner tonight. And I'm just gonna toss them in the bowl. I reckon I got enough to do a dinner for me and Tom. I am freezing, but I just love the first snow of the season. It's so exciting, and it's such a blessing to get to be in the kitchen in the nice, warm, yummy smelling kitchen. Come on, Bee, come inside. When it's snowing outside, I think it's so nice and cozy and just gives you all the feels, you know? So let's get back in the warm kitchen and continue on with our cooking. Next up, you guys, we are gonna get started making a loaf of French bread. I've made bread plenty of times. I've never made French bread, so we're just gonna kind of give it a shot and see how it goes. The first steps are very similar to all the other bread that I've made. I have 2 1/4 cups of warm water. If you've seen me make bread in any of my other videos, you've heard me say I don't have a thermometer. I don't even remember what the temperature is, but you don't want the water too warm or really too cold, but definitely not too warm. And I always do the pinky test. If you stick your pinky in the water and it's too hot, the yeast is also going to think it's too hot. If you stick your pinky in the water and it feels nice, the yeast is going to think it feels nice too. So I'm going to go ahead and pour that water into my bowl here. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar to that warm water. I'm going to go ahead and dissolve that sugar in the warm water. You want the sugar in there because it's going to help wake up the yeast and activate it. If you are using instant yeast, then you can just move right on to the next step. But if you're using active dry yeast, then you need to let it get nice and foamy in your water, your warm water sugar mixture. But either way, whichever yeast you choose to go with, you're going to add 1 tablespoon. And here I have an active dry yeast from Azure. I'm just gonna sprinkle that right on top. And then I'm going to let it sit for a few minutes and get foamy. Okay, so this is nice and foamy and ready to be used. The next thing we're gonna do is add a little less than a tablespoon of salt to this, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and 3 cups of flour. I am using a King Arthur bread flour. If all you have is all-purpose flour, that's totally fine. You can use that for this recipe. I just happen to have bread flour, and I'm making bread, so why not? And flour in a bread recipe is not something that really has to be exact because you're looking for a certain feel to the bread more than anything. And that can really differ with different environments that you're making bread in. The humidity in your kitchen matters and things like that, your ingredients. So I'm gonna add roughly 3 cups of flour, and then I have my dough hook attached to my mixer, and we're gonna go ahead and get that mixed together. This is very, 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 very wet. And at this point, really you were just doing an initial mix to get those ingredients mixed together. At this point, you're gonna start gradually stirring in another 2 to 3 cups of flour. And the goal here is to get a nice soft dough that doesn't stick to the side of the bowl. And so again, that flour amount is really kind of up to you and your dough and what it looks like. I'm gonna start with a cup and slowly add more until the dough pulls away from the sides of the bowl. All right, let's take a look at this and see what we're looking at. So the fact that it fell right off the hook actually to me is not a very good sign, because in the past when I've made really successful breads, it's a nice soft ball that just kind of sticks to the hook. And when I put my fingers on the hook, look at how messy that is. So I've got 2 clean fingers here. I'm just gonna press into the dough ball and look at that. So we definitely need to add more flour to this. Let's see if it's any better. Awesome. Little bit of stickiness. However, when I take this off of here and do the kneading process, I can add enough flour that way to really get that desired texture. So I'm gonna call this good, and I'm gonna go ahead, this is super clean surface here. I'm gonna sprinkle some flour down. I'm gonna take my rings off actually. Let's get this dough onto our lightly floured work surface. See, yep, pretty sticky, but that's okay, because we can add flour to this now and definitely get the texture that we want. All right, so I've already gotten up all of the flour off my surface and it's still sticking to me, so I'm just gonna go ahead and flour this a bit more and just work that into it. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and shape this into a nice ball. Does anybody else give their dough a good smack for good measure after they're done kneading it? Got a glass bowl here. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil and just kind of get the whole inside of the bowl nice and oiled. Put my ball of dough in there. Make sure all sides are coated with the oil. And we're gonna let this baby rise for probably about an hour till it's doubled in size. That's another thing about bread that varies. If a recipe ever says, let it rest for an hour or until doubled in size, it says that because not everybody's kitchen environment is going to equal the same amount of rise time. It's usually about an hour if everybody, a lot of people have similar kitchen conditions. So it's around an hour, but if your kitchen is really cold or, if your kitchen's really warm, it could be less time, more time. So that's kind of one of those other things about bread making that is not always consistent across the board. My front stove burner is on because I am cooking those pears from earlier. So I'm gonna cover this with a clean kitchen towel and set it on the very back of my stove, and that will help it rise quicker because it's gonna be warmer. So you might be wondering what delicious recipe we are going to be making French bread for. And I'm actually making the French bread to turn it into a garlic bread to go along with blackened chicken Alfredo, homemade. And I just really wanted some kind of thick, creamy, really flavorful pasta dish. And this is going to be for dinner tomorrow and maybe lunches Tuesday if there's enough left. And so we're gonna start with the blackened chicken. And what makes chicken blackened chicken is that the outside of the chicken breast has a combination of spices on it that you let cook on the chicken when you cook it in your pan. Those spices get really nice and dark and fragrant and delicious, and it's just so tasty. So to have that chicken in the Alfredo, I have a couple of tips for making your Alfredo sauce more flavorful, but Alfredo sauce on its own is just not the most flavorful of sauces in my opinion. So to have it paired with blackened chicken, that's just going to be covered in delicious, yummy spices. I think altogether it's going to be really, really delicious. So here I have paprika, cayenne pepper, garlic salt, pepper, cumin, onion powder, and oregano. Now, your combination of spices, you could use other spices, you could omit spices, and then for me, I'm not going to give you a measurement recipe for this because it's kind of to your own taste. Cumin, for example, is not one of my favorite spices. I use it in a lot of things, but I don't like it to really overwhelm the palate, so I will be using it, but I won't use a lot of it. So it's kind of up to you. You know, if you don't love paprika, don't use as much paprika. But these together, I think, are going to be really yummy. And honestly, I'm not even really going to measure them. I'm just going to kind of throw some in here. Kind of equal parts, I guess. That looks to me like a pretty delicious combination of spices. And then the only thing out of all of these that I can take any credit for is the oregano. This is dried, homegrown oregano, and I am going to add quite a bit because I'm proud of it. All right, next up, got a couple pieces of chicken right here. I'm gonna go ahead and put that on a plate. I wanna pat it dry. And then I'm gonna go ahead and rub it down with these spices. Don't be afraid to use your hands. You really want it to be covered. It's gonna be so, so yummy cooking in the pan. Oh, it's gonna smell so good. Oh, look at how good that looks. That is gonna be so delicious. And then do the same thing with really all of your chicken breasts, however many you are going to cook. Okay, and then please don't mind my pan because it's the same pan I cooked breakfast in this morning, and there's really no reason for me to dirty another one. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of olive oil to this pan and let this heat up. That was probably a little more olive oil than I needed. I'm so heavy-handed with olive oil, I've noticed. Just gonna let that get nice and warm. Okay, now that our pan is nice and hot, we can go ahead and add our chicken breasts. All right, after a few minutes, you can go ahead and give those a flip. And look at how delicious that looks. And that's where blackened chicken gets its name, because the area that is seasoned is very dark. I always buy thin sliced chicken breasts because I don't like wondering if my chicken is cooked all the way through. When they're already thinly sliced, I mean, you're gonna cook it all the way through. So really just like 3, maybe 4 minutes on each side does it for me, for my thin sliced chicken breast. And guys, it smells so good. I wish that you could smell it through the camera. Those spices on this chicken just really takes chicken breasts up to a whole new level. And to have those be in with the pasta and the homemade Alfredo sauce, the homemade Alfredo sauce we'll be making here in a moment, it's all just gonna taste so good together. That same plate that I had the chicken breast on I cleaned it, and I'm just gonna go ahead and take these and set them right on the plate. Guys, the juices are just running off of these chicken breasts. So, so tasty. All right, you guys, now it's time to really think about making the Alfredo sauce. I'm gonna make the Alfredo sauce in the same exact pan that I cooked the chicken in because it's got all of those delicious juices and spices and all of that blackened chicken spice that's at the bottom of this pan. We are going to actually deglaze this pan and have that be in the Alfredo sauce, and boy, is it gonna be so good. So here I've got some butter. This is a European butter that I get from Azure, and you wanna add 1 cup of butter. This does have half cup marks on here, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut half a cup out of here. Look at how yummy and yellow that butter is. It's beautiful butter. I'm gonna go ahead and put that into the pan. In order to deglaze a pan and to get all of those yummy bits up off of it, you do have to have some kind of liquid in there. So we're gonna start with the butter, get that nice and melted, and get up what we can with the butter. But then once the butter is melted and we've kind of done what we can do with it, we're also going to add in some heavy cream. You can add milk if you want to make this but you don't have heavy cream and you just have milk. You can still use that. You'll likely just have to add a little bit of flour and make a roux so that it will thicken up on its own. Using the heavy cream definitely gives this Alfredo sauce that really thick texture that consistency rather, that you would expect from an Alfredo sauce. And I don't know how well you can see here, but the butter did an excellent job getting all of those yummy bits off the bottom of the pan with very little effort on my part. So that looks wonderful. Gonna go ahead and let that melt a second more. You wanna add roughly 2 cups of heavy cream. Really doesn't matter so much. I'm gonna add kind of roughly 2 cups to this. My other whisk is currently in the dishwasher, so I have to bring out this giant industrial-sized whisk that I have, because a whisk is really your best bet tool for making this sauce. So I'm going to switch over to this and kind of get this all nice and mixed together. At this point, we can go ahead and add all of our flavorings, and those are, I've got here about 2 cloves of minced garlic. We're gonna go ahead and add that in there. You don't want this to necessarily boil, so I would just keep an eye on it while you're adding everything in here. Really no need to rush, but you don't really want it to boil. Next, I'm going to add a decent amount of pepper. Definitely love pepper in my Alfredo sauce, personally. Give that a mix. If you have just a standard Italian seasoning in your spice cabinet, that's fine. I have some homegrown dried basil leaves here. Normally I would add thyme to this, but I don't have any right now. Can't wait to expand my herb garden next year. I'm gonna have all the herbs. It's gonna be wonderful in the kitchen. It's probably enough of that. I'm gonna turn this down a bit. It's getting pretty bubbly there. Then I'm gonna add in some oregano. This whisk is obnoxiously large. I need to be cooking noodles, but I don't have any more space on my stove. Between the bread, this Alfredo sauce, and then my pear butter over here, I'm out of space. And the very last ingredient that we're gonna add to this is some grated Parmesan cheese. Of course, you can buy the stuff that comes in the little green container, but this is freshly grated Parmesan cheese, and I have, I don't know how much, like 2.5 cups, and I'm just gonna add that in here. Oh, my mouth is watering. This isn't even what we're eating for dinner tonight. This is tomorrow's dinner that I'm trying to get ahead of, and my mouth is watering. I'm gonna turn that heat back up a little bit here. No, it's not doing anything. Having a gas range is so finicky. Like, I love it, but at the same time, trying to keep your temperature just right can be such a pain. Oh my goodness. All right, so I'm gonna give that a few minutes here to kind of warm up and thicken up. Again, you don't really wanna boil it necessarily, but you do wanna simmer it for a few minutes and let that thicken up. Oh yeah, this Alfredo sauce is turning into a beautiful consistency here, although so much of it's stuck on the whisk. It is smelling and looking so good. So let's do a quick taste test here and see if there's anything else that we can add to it to up the flavor. And also, let's see what those seasonings from the chicken did for us in this. Oh, it smells so good. Oh my, you guys. That is Alfredo sauce that you'd get at a restaurant. I didn't add any salt to it, so I thought that I would think that I needed to, but because all of those other spices, and by the way, I added a lot of garlic salt to the seasoning mixture that went on the chicken. I think enough of that was in the bottom of this pan that actually I even find it a little bit salty. So I'm glad I tasted it before blindly adding any salt to it, because I didn't add any extra salt to this. And it is delicious. It's not overly salty or anything, but it's certainly to the point where I don't need to add any more. I highly, highly recommend making your Alfredo sauce in this way, where you make the blackened chicken or blackened salmon or whatever you want to do. And then make the Alfredo sauce in the same pan that you did that, because those extra flavors take this Alfredo sauce to just another level. It's so good. All right, you guys, we are moving right along. The fun thing about this video today for me is that I was making all of these things anyway. So I really don't feel rushed or pressured to do anything outside of my norm, and that's really nice. So we're gonna move on to the bread because the Alfredo sauce is done, and since and actually the chicken is too, and I've got it right here, I guess I should probably put that away. I'm just gonna cook the pasta tomorrow. It's only gonna take me a few seconds, and that way I don't have pasta sitting in the fridge overnight since we're eating it tomorrow. So that's fine, I'll do that in the morning. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this bread. It has been doubling, and it certainly did. And so the next step is to lightly flour your surface again, and then we're gonna turn our bread out onto that surface. And this is where things get a little tricky for me because so far, I mean, I feel like we've made bread like we would normally, but now it is going to get a little different. So we are gonna go ahead and cut this in half. I don't think I mentioned this, but this recipe that I'm giving you guys actually makes 2 loaves of French bread, and one of them I'm gonna just freeze, and then the other one will be for tomorrow. So I'm gonna put that back in the bowl for now. And then we're just gonna go ahead, oh, that feels nice. Oh, I love baking bread. So much fun. We're just gonna kind of knead this out a little bit. Beautiful, beautiful texture. Wonderful. And then we're going to kind of knead it out into a rectangular shape. And this is, like I said, this is where it gets a little different for me. I read the directions, but I am still, there weren't pictures with this one, so you know, a girl's got to have some pictures. I'm just going to kind of use my imagination and do the best I can here. All right, so here we've got a rectangle, and then I'm gonna roll it up alongside like this, and then kind of tuck in the edges. And that is kind of, yeah, no, that looks like a loaf of French bread. That looks great. So I'm just gonna kind of make it nice and pretty. Perfect. Now here's the thing for French bread. You are supposed to put slashes in it, and I'm pretty sure that helps with like air escaping or something. I honestly don't even know. But you want to use a kitchen tool called a lame, I think is what they're called. I don't have one, shocker. But I do still want to put the slashes in. So I read that you want to, if you don't have the proper tool, you want to do this step before you've let it go through its second rise. Because if you do it afterwards and you don't do it properly with a lame, there's a chance your bread will deflate. So while we're in this step, I'm gonna try and find, I think this is the knife I've used the least, which means it's likely the sharpest of all of my knives. So I'm going to try to make very quick slashes with this knife. Oh yeah, beautiful. That one wasn't. Okay. All right. Okay, okay. Yeah, no, I feel like that's great. Very cool. All right. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. I'm excited. All right, let me get out a pan. I'm gonna go ahead and get a couple pieces of parchment paper here and put my first loaf, obviously slash side up, which I guess I probably should have put the slashes in. Totally should have put the slashes in. Oh, what am I doing? Okay, that's okay. I'll know for the next one. I'm going to just kind of try and do that again since I had to jostle it. Okay, that's fine. All right, so there's the first one. Okay, it's probably not going to be perfect, but I think it's cute. All right, set that aside. Okay, and then I'm gonna do just like I did with the other one and roll it up and kind of tuck in the edges here. I'm kind of tucking those under the edges here, if that makes sense. Kind of taking my hand and just kind of tucking it under and shaping it into a little loaf. I want to read to you what this person said about the lame and why you do that and whatnot. This recipe for the French bread came from Mel's Kitchen Cafe, and she talked all about the purpose behind this. Yep, it's a baker's lame. Okay, so yeah, you can deflate the bread and end up with something that looks more like a flat bread than a puffy French. If you use a kitchen knife or a razor blade, it has to be extremely thin and sharp so that it doesn't deflate the bread. Okay, well, guess we're gonna find out. She also said that right as you place the bread into the hot oven, toss a few ice cubes into the bottom of the oven and close the door quickly. But it says don't slam it because you don't want the bread to fall. And the instant steam from the ice cubes causes that nice crisp on the outside of the bread that you know when you buy, like a French loaf from the grocery store. So, yeah, I guess we'll see what happens with my slashes and see if they are successful or not. Like I told you in the beginning of this video, I'm just kind of winging it and trying it out for the first time. And the good news about that is, and hopefully you adopt this as well, there's no pressure. If I mess this up, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. We'll likely still eat it because it'll still taste okay. It just might not look how I want it to look. But, maybe I could end up being really successful and it turns out great and I've learned a new skill and have a little bit more confidence. So either way, win or lose, you're still garnering experience and in honing your skills and whatnot. So I'm really excited to see how these turn out. We'll see what happens. However, they need to rise again. So I'm going to set both of these over here on my stove. I've got the pears over here. So my stove is a little bit warm and I'm gonna leave them probably for another hour and let them get nice and puffy. I do have another recipe that I want to put together and actually put in the freezer for later in the week. But I'm feeling kind of hungry, so I'm gonna sit down and have a snack and then I'll come back and we'll throw that together really quick. I'm just going through and cleaning up really quick, and I took my chicken from earlier and sliced it up, and I'm gonna just lay it on top of the Alfredo sauce here to store. But I really wanted to actually try this and see, how it turned out, because I know it definitely looks good. So let's give this a taste. Oh my gosh. It has a little bit of a kick because of the cayenne pepper. Okay, wait, I gotta dip. You've got to be kidding me. That is so good. Oh, and the kick from the cayenne pepper makes it really interesting. That's awesome. All right, you guys, we are starting to wrap up here. So I've actually shown you this recipe in a different video, the chicken-based freezer meal video, which I'll have linked down in the description. Really good recipes in that video. I recommend watching it if you have not. This is a chicken Parmesan casserole. I'm just gonna show it to you really quickly. There were so many recipes in that video. I know some of them kind of got lost. This is such a good freezer recipe. We're only gonna eat it later in the week, but still having it in the freezer will keep it fresh and good, and it's not just sitting in the fridge. So really, really simple. Here I have some shredded chicken that I cooked in the crock pot. And then here I have some seasoned tomato sauce that I canned in September. Fun fact, this is my very first time using my own canned tomato sauce in a video. I'm really excited about it. Woo! That was a good seal on that one. So I put the chicken into a casserole dish. I didn't really cook a lot of chicken, so I want to do kind of a small serving of this, batch of this, I guess. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour that into my casserole dish, give that a little mix and make sure my chicken is nice and coated in that sauce. And that was just a seasoned tomato sauce. Could be used in pasta, could be used like this, pretty basic stuff. I had just like some basil and oregano, salt and pepper, I think, in there. All right, that looks good. And then here I have 2 cups of a mozzarella Parmesan cheese mixture that I grated up. And I'm gonna go ahead and put that right on top here. This cheese grater has put in the work for me today. If you don't have a cheese grater, I highly recommend getting this one. I love it because it does have the measurements on the side. Hopefully, I don't know if you'll be able to see that. And it has both large holes as well as smaller holes. And then this thing just fits right in here. And it's wonderful. I love this thing. And then now here in a separate container, you want to mix 1 cup of breadcrumbs. Let's see. And I just have plain unseasoned breadcrumbs here. And this part of it doesn't have to be super exact or anything. You want to add 1 to 2 tablespoons of olive oil to that. And then whatever herbs and spices you're interested in having. I'm not going to add too much because my sauce is a seasoned sauce, but I'll go ahead and add a little bit of crushed basil, dried basil to that, and a little bit of oregano as well, because why not? Maybe another little dash of pepper too. And you know what? There's no garlic to be had in this thing, so I think I am going to put a little bit of garlic salt in here. Gonna get that all nice and mixed together. Basically, you're just trying to get the breadcrumbs all to have a little bit of olive oil throughout there. It's gonna be kind of coarse and crumbly after you're done mixing it together. I'm not gonna actually really show it to you what I'm making for dinner tonight because there's really not much to show you, but I'm gonna mention it because I love throwing out affordable meal ideas. And one of my favorite busy middle of the week go-to dinner ideas is pulled barbecue chicken sandwiches and some kind of roasted vegetable. It's so easy. In my crock pot over here, I have a couple of chicken breasts already cooked. I'll go ahead and shred those. You can make homemade barbecue sauce. I have Sweet Baby Ray's in my fridge right now. Throw it in there, in your shredded chicken, mix it all up. I've got some buns. Actually, the reason I'm even making this today is because I have buns in the fridge that we used a couple of weeks ago, and they're gonna go bad, and I really need to use them. So I was like, let's make barbecue chicken sandwiches. And so Tom likes cheese on his. I don't put cheese on mine. You just scoop it right on there. You could make a quick homemade slaw if you wanted to put that on top of there. Some of those crunchy fried onions. You could caramelize some onions to put on top. So many different ways that you can dress up a barbecue chicken sandwich, a pulled barbecue chicken sandwich. And then when we went out to the garden to get Brussels sprouts, that's what I'm gonna serve as the side with those. And all I'm gonna do is clean those up, probably chop them in half, toss them in a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, maybe a little bit of garlic salt, maybe a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Yeah, I think I might grate up some more Parmesan cheese, toss it in there. And then I'm gonna bake those in the oven at 425 degrees until they're roasted to my liking. And that's gonna be dinner tonight. It's quick, it's easy, and I already had everything. Yeah, so 3 chicken dishes that I have prepared. One of them's for dinner tonight, one of them's for dinner tomorrow, and the third one is for dinner later in the week. This will probably be honestly 2 nights worth of dinner. Getting it all done on a Sunday, and I don't really have to think about it or worry about it really until maybe closer to the end of the week, possibly even next weekend, depending on how we make this stretch. So I have my breadcrumbs seasoned with my olive oil, and I'm just going to cover the top. Try and make it really spread. You want this evenly covering the top. Oh yeah, this is looking so delicious. And it's fully cooked, right? The chicken that I shredded up and put in there, I had already previously cooked in the crock pot. So this is ready to eat right now. But when you take it, if you decide to make this and you eat it right away, then you just throw it in the oven, I don't know, 350, maybe 375, just so that the cheese melts and everything warms up. Out of the freezer, I probably 375 is what I would bake it at. Obviously for longer though, because everything is going to be frozen. So you're definitely going to be baking it rather, for longer so that you not only thaw it, but you're also warming it all the way through, melting the cheese, and the top is gonna get nice and golden brown. But there you go. Really, really easy, really affordable. If you have tomato sauce canned up and stored, it's a great way to go through a can of that. This is a Pyrex casserole dish that has a lid, so I'm gonna go ahead and stick this in my upstairs freezer, and like I said, I'll preheat my oven. No, actually, what you wanna do is, anytime that you are baking something that comes out of the freezer, you want to put your cold dish in your cold oven and then preheat your oven and let them come up to temperature together. Because if you put your cold dish in a hot oven, it's likely going to crack or break or whatever. So always cold, cold together. And yeah, probably, I don't know, 30, maybe 45 minutes. It just kind of depends. I don't have a very thick layer of chicken and sauce down there, so mine might not take that long. If you got a really thick hearty casserole, it'll take longer, you know. But anyway, into the freezer this goes. The very last thing that we have to do, and then we're done, is the bread. And that beeping that you heard a moment ago was my oven coming up to temperature, 375 degrees. Let me show you one of these loaves. They definitely became nice and puffy. and these are ready to go. I'm gonna put both of these into my preheated 375-degree oven. I'm gonna throw a few ice cubes into the bottom with it, close the oven door, and let them bake. Okay, you guys, what a fun day in the kitchen this is turning out to be. Guess what was on the front step? Tom brought it in when he came home. I ordered some more vanilla beans because I am running really low on vanilla. This is all I have left of my homemade vanilla. Now, I do have a video on this that I go into it and talk extensively about it, and I'll have that video down in the description if you're interested. But I figured I'd just go ahead and give you a quick crash course on making your own homemade vanilla extract. Let's put a quick pin in this actually because our bread is done and I want to show it to you while it's fresh and hot out of the oven. Look at how beautiful it is. Our little slats that we put in are perfect and so pretty. It's gorgeous, and it's nice and crusty, just like she said it would be by putting the ice cubes in the bottom of the oven. Now, the reason I wanted to do this right now is because while it's still hot, I want to put some butter on it. And I'm gonna be kind of lazy here and just kind of do this. I'm only gonna do it to one of them because the other one, like I said, I'm freezing. But this one we're eating tomorrow, although I'm probably gonna cut into this and try it right now. But I'm gonna go ahead and butter this baby. Look how beautiful. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, come on. That is gorgeous. That is a beautiful, beautiful loaf of bread. Okay, cool. So that was a success. Back to this really quick. So making your own homemade vanilla extract, you only need 2 ingredients. You need vanilla beans and you need liquor of some sort. You can use vodka or you can use spiced rum. I like to use spiced rum just because I think it adds a little more flavor. And I bought these off of Amazon. There's 10 of them. They're Madagascar grade A gourmet vanilla beans. And this is what a vanilla bean looks like because I didn't know until I made vanilla extract for the first time what they even look like. So that's pretty cool. They smell so good. Okay, so I have a pint-sized jar here. It's clean, and I have a reusable screw-on lid for it. It just happens to be a wide mouth jar. My old one is a pint jar, regular mouth, with just a regular lid on it. And you can see the vanilla beans in there. And this is what I have left of my spiced rum. I need to get more. And actually, if there's more in here than what I can fit, I'm just gonna throw the rest in here and that'll be fine. So the thing that you need to do, I'm actually gonna move the camera so I can show you. The thing that you need to do is actually take the beans and split them very carefully with a sharp knife right down the middle here. And when you do that, you're exposing all of the vanilla bean that's on the inside. And this is what gives you that vanilla extract flavor. So when you're splitting it open like that, you're basically just making it a lot easier for that flavor to infuse with your alcohol. So you want to go through here and do that to each one of these. All right, once you have all of your beans split lengthwise, I'm going to actually just cut them in half. And this is just because I want them to comfortably fit in the jar and be submerged by the alcohol. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in my jar and cover them with my spiced rum. All right. And there is a little bit of spiced rum left, so I think I'm actually just going to steal a couple of these out of here and throw them in here. And fill that up the rest of the way. I'll probably have to let this one sit now for a little while, but that's okay. I've got some backup store-bought vanilla extract actually that I should really probably get through, so that's no big deal. And it's funny to me because you can actually see the color difference. So here's the one that I made a while ago, long time ago, springtime maybe. And even after adding in, you know, thinning it out with the spiced rum, you can see the color difference. This is the brand new one, and this is the one that I've been using for a while now. You really, really, really need to let brand new vanilla extract infuse for a minimum of 6 weeks. It's really tempting to use it, but it's kind of a waste if you do, because you're not going to be getting that full vanilla extract flavor unless you really let it do its thing and infuse. I keep these in a dark, cool place. Actually, I keep them up in, can you see it? This cabinet up top here, same place where I keep my flour and my sugar in the kitchen. And it's a really great spot for it, and I'm just gonna let these sit and infuse. And guys, it's so easy. How long did that take? Just a few minutes to make your own homemade vanilla extract. And it's just one of those kitchen adventures that I really enjoy. Every week or so, just give it a shake. All right, you guys, there's one more thing actually that I want to do with this French bread, one more recipe that I'm gonna give you. Remember, this bread is meant to be eaten with the blackened chicken Alfredo that we made today, and I want to turn this into garlic bread. Before we get into all that though, let me go ahead and bring the hubby some dinner, but I just wanna show you guys that my toxic trait is that I roast things. I like things burnt, like I really do, and I'm not just using that as an excuse because I burnt these. I really like them that way. I don't know if Tom does or not, but he lives with it. Okay, you guys, this is it. This is the very last thing that I'm showing you. What did we do today? So many things I can't even remember. I got to use my cool new gadget in the beginning. We did the chicken Parmesan casserole that I have in the freezer. We made that delicious blackened chicken Alfredo. We're in the middle of making this French bread, this French garlic bread right now. We did barbecue chicken sandwiches with roasted Brussels sprouts for dinner. Yum. Gosh, maybe that was it. But we're finishing this out with the garlic bread. And to make your own garlic bread, you could have just bought a French loaf at the grocery store. In fact, if that's what's accessible to you, please still go ahead and do that. We went ahead and made a loaf of French bread, and we're going to turn this into garlic bread. Fun fact, before we even get into it, I just want to mention, because I did say I was going to freeze that other loaf of French bread, you could turn this into garlic bread and still freeze it and have your own frozen garlic bread. In fact, I considered doing that, but I think I might use this loaf of French bread for something different, so I'm gonna leave it the way it is. But I just wanted to throw that out there, that making your own garlic bread at home, you can freeze it even once we've done the garlic bread step. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're using the same bowl that I had the breadcrumbs in. We're going to add 1/2 cup of softened butter, and this is about as soft as it gets right now, into that bowl. Here I have roughly 3 cloves of garlic that I minced up. We're gonna throw that in there. Guys, I am tired of grating Parmesan cheese. I had to grate more. This was the 3rd time today I grated Parmesan cheese, which is funny. I didn't really think it through. I should have just done a whole bunch at once. So I have about 1/2 cup of grated Parmesan cheese that I'm gonna add to that mixture. I don't feel like getting my oregano and basil out for the 3rd time today. So I just have the Italian seasoning from my spice cabinet that I think I'm too cool to use now since I grow my own basil and oregano. Well, I guess I offended it because it hurt my fingernail. All right, so just throw some of that in there, kind of to your own taste, however much you want. Probably gonna put about a teaspoon of it in there. And that's it. Then you just take a spoon, and because your butter is softened, you should be able to, maybe with a little bit of elbow grease, kind of mush all of that together and turn it into like a cheesy, herby garlic butter that you're actually going to spread onto your loaf of French bread. All right, you guys, this is nice and cool at this point. Let's go ahead and crack this baby open. I have a bread knife here, and I'm going to cut this open, but I'm gonna leave a little bit uncut so that it has, kind of like a hinge. Oh, this is opening right up for me. I'm glad it's still warm in the middle because my butter is actually not as soft as I thought, so this will make it easy to spread it. Oh yeah, guys, look at that. That is just a beautiful, beautiful loaf of French bread. Hang on, I gotta go show Tom. I gotta show Tom. I get so excited to show Tom my accomplishments. And he's so nice. He's always like, good job, babe. Look what I made. I made a loaf of French bread like you buy at the store. I made it. Yeah, look. It's like legit. I made it. Thank you. Yay. Get this baby opened up here. And then all you do, easy peasy, right? You just take some of that herbed garlic butter that you just made and spread around here. Okay, my camera battery is gonna die literally any minute. I wanted to take a really quick bite of this so that we could try it. So good. So soft. You guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me in the kitchen today. First snowy day in the kitchen. So much fun. We did so many fun, tasty things. Stay tuned for the next one. You guys be blessed. See you next time. Bye.